You ever wondered how you could become more confident within yourself? You ever seen people that they had this ooze of confidence that would come out of them? And maybe you said, I wish I could be as confident as they are. Stay tuned. I'm going to read a passage from the book called Trust, okay? One of the things it says is the introduction. How does a newborn baby know that when it sucks on their nipple, something good will come out? It doesn't know. What it does is trust. I never forget this wisdom because it taught me that no matter how old I am or how much I think I know, each day that I awake, I am like a newborn baby who trusts in life. Over the years, what I have learned about trust is that we, like the newborn, do it all of the time without even thinking about it. Trust is what we do each day when we get out of bed and put our clothes on. It is the thing that makes it possible for us to keep putting one foot in front of the other. I trust that my body will sustain me, that people will support me, and that what I need, want, and desire, I can and will eventually have. I trust that I can leave my home and return to it, find it standing. I trust that my children and grandchildren will be safe from harm as they move throughout the day. I trust that my partner really does love me and that we will become stronger together as the year passes. When trust is present against all odds, we enroll in school with no guarantee that we will find a job. It is trust that makes not enough money enough to do what we need to do. Trust turns rejection, abandonment, disappointment, and loneliness into motivations rather than a deterrent. Trust moves us beyond what is wrong and what is missing into taking any next best step that will make a difference. So I have done a few videos talking about confidence on my YouTube channel. But one of the things that I noticed is the more that I grow, the more the information that I deliver is more detailed, the more examples I can use, okay? Oftentimes we think that our way is the way, right? And a main place that you can look at to see if your way is the way, right? Or if it's the way for your life is by taking a look at your results, right? Results is always going to be a great indication of what you have going on in the subconscious mind. Is always going to be a great indication of your belief systems. Okay, we all have belief systems, right? And so I was watching a video the other day on Neo Knowledge, okay, who is another YouTuber, and one of the things he talked about was confidence, right? And it was one thing that he said which helps with confidence, and the one thing is self-trust, okay? And it put me in the mind of this book right here, Miss Iyanla Vanzant book. And in this book, it talks about, of course, trust, right? Trusting yourself to understand when you see red flags to not try to turn the red flags into blue flags or try to turn them into something else. And what is self-trust, right? Like, so we always, majority of us grew up, felt like, I can't trust this person, I can't trust that person, or whatever. Sometimes you may even felt like you can't trust your parents, but is it really that you can't trust them, or is it that you can't trust yourself? The reason being is that people always show us exactly who they are. And if we don't want to accept what we see, or if we feel like this relationship can be other than, right, then oftentimes we will start creating a whole story, right? Creating a whole story, creating a whole narrative of what our expectations are around that person, around that situation, as opposed of what it actually really is. Okay. So self-trust, one of the things that will help you with developing, stronger confidence within yourself is trust, but also, do you say you are going to do something and do you actually do it? I remember listening to my mentor, Bob Proctor, and one of the things he said was he had made a promise to himself to sell a certain amount of tapes, right? Personal development tapes. And he said once he hit that goal, he said that he would go out and buy himself some suits, a suit. And he hit that goal, but he never went and purchased this suit because he had so many other people to pay. And so the next time he had set a goal and said, well, you know what, I'm going to double that. I'm going to sell more. And I'm going to go and buy a suit. And he said he heard a voice immediately say, you made that promise to yourself already. You don't keep your word to yourself. And how many of us have made promises to ourselves and actually did not do what we said that we was going to do? So every time you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you are lying to yourself. And I'm not saying, right, to be holier than thou, to, I'm so perfect and stuff like that, because there's definitely times where as though I have said that I was going to do something and I may have not done it. Okay. But to get into the habit of saying you are going to do it and then actually do it, oh my goodness, the way you feel, okay, is a feeling like no other. Because understand this, before someone else can lie to you, you have already lied to yourself. And we can't ask that people be honest with us if we're not being honest with ourselves. So one of the things, or a few things that I started doing, was to build more confidence with myself, was I write my goals down. You guys have heard me say this time and time again. In fact, every night I tend to write my goals down, okay? And what I do is the next day I execute these goals. I do what I said I was going to do, okay? And then I cross out the things that I said that I was going to do. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, because there has been times where so I wrote my goals down. Normally my goals is about like 5 to 6 things, to do a day. And it doesn't have to be anything that is ginormous. It doesn't have to be something that is like so far reach. It can be something, my goals, 5 videos, right? Inspiration videos, read, okay? And some of the books that I am going to read today is Trust, and also The Science of Getting Rich, and Mystic Path, the Mystic Path to Cosmic Power by Vernon Howard, which is my favorite read. Also listen to some form of personal development. Here I got listen to Bob Proctor, Gratitude Journal, okay, and then read The Confidence Formula by Napoleon Hill and read my goals. So it doesn't have to be anything that is like so ginormous, because let me tell you something, if you writing things down that is like so, is like such a ginormous task, okay, chances are you may not stick to that for long term. So you want to do things that is, is not easy, but it's doable, right? It's not easy, but it's doable. What do I mean by that? So remember, when you on a path to becoming a new version of yourself, right? One of the things that you have to understand is that there's going to be all sorts of chatter going on in your mind. It's going to be all sorts of, you hear certain things, you don't think that you can do it, all these different things, right? And it may be times where though that you may feel like, oh, I don't want to do that, right? but you are capable of doing it. So one of the things, if I could give a perfect example, is this. In the morning time, I have wrote on my goals, okay, for my goals, for me to go walking, okay, just to get out of that comfort, for me to go walking, for me to see different people, new faces, okay, say hello to the people that I passed, okay. And sometimes it's like, right? Sometimes you may feel like, oh, well, not today, right? But the more you do what you have said that you was going to do, the better it is start becoming. But it's almost like a muscle of saying, I'm going to do this. And then repetition is always key. And the more you show up, the more confident you will feel. Like, oh my goodness, I actually keep my word to myself. And then you would expect others to keep their word to them. They were what they said they was going to do. You would expect for them to keep their word because you keep your word to yourself. Okay. So developing confidence. Okay. The main thing is self-trust. You have to trust yourself. If you say that you are going to make certain amount of phone calls, right? Cold calling, I think they call it. If you're going to make cold calling for your business, whatever, don't keep on prolonging it, because one of the things that I know to be true, if you want to fertilize fear, is postponing things, okay? It is procrastination, which goes back to postponing things, okay? It is not keeping your word to yourself. So whatever you said that you was going to do, still show up and do those things. And I don't care how you have to do it. Meaning, sometimes people think that, oh, well, because they are a little afraid. Say a little afraid, okay? A little afraid. They feel like because they are a little afraid, they talk themselves out of, no, I'm not going to do it, because somewhere along the line you have heard growing up, you're not supposed to be afraid, right? But let me tell you something. If you have heard when you was a child so many things surrounded by fear, okay, then you took on this belief system of, you're afraid of this, you're afraid of that, you're afraid of that. And I remember I was reading Dr. Joseph Murphy's book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And one of the things he said in the book, he said, is only really two natural fears. And that is like loud noise. And it was, something else. I can't recall what was the second thing. But all those other fears that you have, the fear of public speaking, the fear of taking yourself out, the fear of getting to know new people, all of those are fears that you have adapted from someone else, okay? So, with closing this, you're going to start keeping your word to yourself. Even if it's just one thing that you have said that you will tell yourself that you are going to do. And that one thing can be, oh, I'm going to work out at the gym for 5 minutes. Let me tell you something. This is your life. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's life. And that's what's really tripping you up, because you look at what somebody else is doing and you say, oh, well, they do it for this amount of time or whatever. But you don't know how it was when they first started. Remember, everything starts off as a micro and then turns into a macro, but it starts off as a micro. So you want to do things that are small tasks. Before I started running outside, okay, I remember it was a little fear of mine to run outside in public. Thinking all types of stuff. The cars, the people, thinking all types of stuff. But what I started doing was, I remember when I went and got a gym membership, okay, and this is what I mean when I say you start from the small things that work its way up into the bigger things. If you're not going to do the smaller things, you're not going to do the bigger things. And so I remember I went to the gym, I got a membership, And I remember it was this voice, right? I wanted to run on a treadmill. It was almost like it was almost like declaration, like I want to run, right? It was almost like, being rebellious, it going against that chatter in my mind, that chatter of that wants you to stay in this, so to speak, this box, right? This limited belief box. And I remember, it was an instant. The thought came to me, run. And I wanted to run. But then I started looking around. You know how you start looking around almost as if to ask for permission, right? Not verbally, but the permission is pretty much, is anybody looking? Okay, so is it okay for me to do it now, right? And I remember I just started running, right? And I didn't, at that point, once I got started, I didn't give a darn who was looking, okay? I just kept on running, okay? And I remember I kept on pressing the button to go faster and faster and faster. And it was really a challenge within myself. It's like the old version of me and then the new version of me, the true self of me, okay, where ego don't exist, right? And I started running. And then from me doing that at the gym, okay, then I was able to do it outside. Okay, so it transferred from in the house. I would work out in the house and stuff. Then I start going to the gym. It was a challenge. Okay, it wasn't so much about me going to the gym, right? It was more so about me getting out of the comfort zone. It was more so about me challenging myself and understanding, look, you're not going to die, right? You're not going to die by doing something different, but you will be born. Perhaps, okay? Perhaps you will die, that old version of yourself, so you could be born again, right? And born again means just simply renewal of the mind, okay? And so when you start getting in the habit of doing these things, okay, you develop this self-trust where as though you feel so confident, like, I keep my word to myself, and you won't accept the bare minimum. Like when you develop self-confidence, it's certain things you just won't tolerate. You know why? Because you don't even do that with yourself. Remember, everything that we tend to do with ourselves, we accept that from other people. So if you don't keep your word to yourself, there's no way you can really expect someone else to keep their word to you, because you don't even keep your word to yourself. Remember, we don't get in life what we desire to have. We get in life what we actually are. So you can desire all you want, but if you're not what you desire to be, you will not receive it. It's called alignment. One of the things I want to share with you guys, because I took this book. My intuition told me to get this book off the shelf, and trust, okay, mastering the 4 essential trusts: trust in self, trust in God, trust in others, trust in life. This book is such an amazing book. This is probably like my second time. Well, this would be my third time reading this book. It's so good. And one of the things it talks about is boundary etiquette, okay? And it says, consider the following supportive tips when you are in the process of establishing or maintaining your boundaries. Also, with building confidence, you have to have boundaries, okay? You have to have boundaries. Boundaries are a must. Boundaries is you letting people know, this is what I don't tolerate. This is how you will behave in my life, okay? And one of the things Miss Iyanla Van Zandt goes on and she says, example, in my world, agreements and commitments are important. It's how we know that we can trust each other and that we respect each other's time. So it's important to me that when I make an agreement, I keep the agreement. It's also important to me that you keep your agreement. So let's agree that we will both show up on time. Okay. Let others know that the boundary exists and inform them if and when they have violated it. Example, you know that I'm a little crazy about punctuality. So I hope we can agree on a time to meet and that we will all honor our agreement to be on time. And she goes on and on, giving different examples on how to keep the boundaries and what are the consequences of someone who was to violate your boundaries. Okay. So, what are you going to do? Recap to build that confidence up is you're going to start trusting yourself. But trust is like a muscle. You're going to start doing things, not ginormous things, micro, micro things. Okay, sometimes I get micro and macro. Okay, mixed up. Micro things. You're going to do micro things, small things. Okay, that you can do that is doable. Okay, and that small thing can be I'm gonna work out for 5 minutes a day. Okay, that's doable. If you haven't worked out in a few years, and then if you go and say, well, I'm gonna work out for an hour a day, how long do you think that is going to be sustainable before you throw in a towel? Because you have to build up the consistency. All right. The next thing is when you accomplish that goal that you set out for yourself, I highly recommend you guys get a journal. I get my journals from Dollar Tree. $1.25 is okay with me. Okay. I get my journals from Dollar Tree. And what I do, like I mentioned before, I write my goals down each and every night. Okay. And then the next day, I cross out my goals when I have accomplished it. Okay. Nothing feels so good because I have so many books, journal books, okay, that I wrote and I finished a book. But when I go back and I see, wow, I said I was going to do this and I did it. It's like a feeling of, that reassurance that I knew I could do it. It's like that reassurance of, I'm confident within myself. I keep my word to myself. Whatever I say I'm going to do, I'm going to do it. Right. So let me know in the comments, what are some of the things that you do that you had told yourself that you was going to do and that you actually had done it. And also let me know in the comments, what are some of the things that you said you was going to do and honey, you ain't even start yet. Okay. All right. I want you to know that you have the ability to start it. I want you to know that it is all within you, but don't give yourself such a ginormous task that you don't even get started. Be realistic with yourself. And with that being said, I love you guys, and I catch you guys on the next one.